Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the 2011 edition of Friday Morning Coffee. I'm Mike Ferrell. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to giving you some great thoughts and ideas in this new year, and hopefully 2011 will be your best year ever. So today what I'd like to talk about, I'm kind of titling today's video as a blinding flash of obvious. I worked with a client a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about what he'd done in kind of the last few weeks of the year and that type of thing. And he told me that he had had some problems closing a couple of sales that he thought he could get closed, and then he had also lost a big sale that he really thought was one that he was going to get. And so we really went back and started analyzing his sales process. And if you haven't really stepped back and looked at your sales process in a while, I would suggest that you do this, because it really was, in this particular case for him, a blinding flash of the obvious. Because in essence, as we went back through it, we really looked at what he did in each step of the sale. And one of the things that I told him is, and asked him about, is was he gaining commitment in each step of the sale? And especially with the large sale that he'd lost, what had happened that he had lost it at the end. And I'll talk more a little bit about that in just a minute. But going through that process and gaining that commitment through each step of the sales process. I think salespeople a lot of times just kind of go through their presentation, they go through their product or service or whatever it is, and they get good feedback from the client, but then when it comes to the end of the process where they're trying to close the sale, the client says, let me think about it, or I'm not quite ready to do it, or whatever the case may be, or I'm just not going to do it, or buy it, or whatever. And I think, if you look at gaining that commitment on the front end, and one of the things that I suggested to him was, as you're going through that kind of needs analysis process on the front end and getting information from your prospect or customer and finding out what their needs are and what it is they're trying to accomplish, it's the old what's in it for me theory. What do they really want your product or service to do with them? And once you find all of that out, then I think getting that commitment, saying, if we can do all of this, if we can, meet your needs and give you what you're looking for and all that kind of stuff, are you prepared to do business now? And I think a lot of salespeople really miss that point. They miss that fact that getting that commitment from the prospect or customer on the front end, asking them will they do business with them, could alleviate a lot of headaches down the road as you're trying to close that sale and taking them through the process. So that's the first thing, I think, is gaining that commitment and really analyzing your process. I think the other thing is making sure that you continue to gain that commitment. When I do sales training, I suggest each part of your sales presentation should end with some leading questions. You're kind of leading that customer or that prospect down the path toward agreement. So at the end, you really aren't closing a sale at all. You're just confirming the fact that they agree to everything that they've said they'd agreed to up to that point. So I think it's important that you get that buy-in and you get that commitment through each step of your sale, whether it's a one-time presentation sales process or whether you have to take 6 years to sell it like this particular person. Now the last piece, and especially for complex sales, making sure that you've got everything that you can control under control. And what I mean by that, and the best way to explain it, is the example that happened where this particular client of mine lost the big sale. He'd been working on this sale for almost 6 years, and it was a large sale, and he had really taken them through the process, done a great job of meeting their needs and giving them everything that they wanted and needed in his product and what he was going to provide for them. And in the end, they asked for a couple of references. Now, in this particular case, he was actually working with another salesperson, and so he got the references from the other salesperson. Where they made the mistake is they never went back and checked with the references to make sure that everything was okay. So when this prospective client picked up the phone and called one of those references and come to find out that just recently they had had a problem with the product or the service that was being provided, it immediately blew the sale right out of the water. And so, again, making sure, if you're giving references out, making sure somebody's picking up the phone and calling them, saying, number one, is it okay if they call you? And number two, are there any issues that we need to deal with, to make sure that you're happy? Because in this particular case, after all of that work and all of that time, they lost the sale simply because they forgot to call the reference and make sure that everything was okay. So I think it's a like I said, a blinding flash of the obvious, making sure that you're really doing all the things that you need to do in your sales process to be effective, and especially gaining commitment on the front end. Certainly today, with the economic times that we've been through, people don't make decisions, especially major decisions, without really considering what it is they're going to do. And I think you really need to try and gain that commitment up front, and really ask them if we can do everything that you need us to do and provide you with a product or service that's going to do that, and it's competitive and it's cost effective and all those kinds of fun things, will you do business with us? And I think in most people's minds, at that point, if they say, yes, we'll do business, then they've really made that commitment in their mind that, if you can do all this stuff for me, absolutely, I'm ready to go. So again, I would really encourage you to look at your sales process. We're starting out a brand new year in 2011 now. You want to make 2011 your best year ever. We're starting to see things turn from the economy, and I think 2011 looks like it's going to be a great year. And make sure that you're taking advantage of some of these things turning, and make sure that your sales process is tight, and it really is getting you all the sales that you deserve and want as you go through 2011. So that's today's issue of Friday Morning Coffee. Thanks again for listening in with us today. Again, I look forward to doing this every week now through the new year, and we will talk to you in a week or so. And by the way, don't forget to visit our website, whatayoudealingwith.com or thepinecrestgroup.com, and check out all of the new programs and things that we're going to be doing in 2011. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.